What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Les George V.E.C.P. I've been kind of holding off on this knife review for some time because these were really unavailable. But Woody has returned from Blade Show, and at USA Made Blade, there's a decent number of these still available. I think that was kind of one of the largest batches that he got back from Blade Show this year. So they're now available. Again, USA Made Blade. This is not sponsored. I love the service that we get at USA Made Blade. And they do a great thing for USA knife makers. So this particular titanium frame lock is a machine ground manual folder based on the Rockeye custom. And the Rockeye is also licensed as an automatic through ProTech. We can kind of show that. This particular one that I have here is a Tanto, which is what they're making at present. The one I have for the Rockeye automatic from ProTech is the drop point there. So just a point of reference for that particular one. This particular knife weighs in at 5.1 ounces. It sports a 3.45 inch blade. Again, this is the Tanto. And it's made of CTS XHP steel, which is kind of one of the kings of being balanced in terms of strength, sharpenability, as well as edge retention. So it's really good balanced, and that kind of really speaks to what this knife is really great for, is balancing. It's a balanced user, I think, for the most part. It does come in at a cost of $425, made in the USA. So a little bit pricey. In terms of some other comparison knives in that price range, I think for myself, I really found that it kind of fell in between a couple hinderers in terms of kind of blade thickness, use, hold it, and in the hand, in the pocket, and that sort of thing. So the Eclipse, the Hinder Eclipse, and then also for me, it felt a little bit closer to the Hinder Skinny XM18. So in terms of, it's a little bit thicker than the Skinny. It's a little bit thinner than the regular XM18. And it's a little bit thinner than this one, but it just kind of had that similar pocketability. It does have just the slightest bit shorter blade at 3.45 inches. But again, those would be ones that you'd be talking about in terms of the price comparison range. In terms of another one that I really thought of, and it just kind of it made me feel like it is, kind of another big beefy Tanto blade, is the Ramon Chavez Ultramar Redención 229. These come and go in terms of availability as well, but this particular one is the Tanto blade. These are made by Riot, and again, a big beefy thumb stud deployment type of titanium frame lock is really just, kind of, those are the things that I think would be, comparable in there. Jumping right into the pros of this one. The stone washing on this knife is, I don't know if this is going to show up in video. I hope it does, but the stone washing is just beautiful everywhere on this particular blade. The pocket clip, the handle, the scales, and then the blade, just marvelous, actually. So one of the best stone washings I've seen from, tip to tail on a knife. So love that. The open back construction, I found that, as well as using phosphor bronze washers in here, makes for great maintenance ability. It can get some gunk in there, and so it may not require a whole lot, but it will be easy enough to maintenance in terms of just, shooting probably a little bit of alcohol in there and blow it out with some air. So I found that was really good. Also, it utilizes some very massive hardware, and it uses a T20 at the pivot, Torx, and then T10s for these back screws here. So definitely found that very maintenanceable. The action and return are obviously very satisfying, even though they're on washers. And of course, it'll ease up in time a little bit, but it's already starting to work in really nice. And it is, you can use well, my hands are a little bit slippery right now. But yeah, you can go ahead and use the middle finger on the backside. Left-handed, actually, the thumb stud works just fine as well. So, it was very good. The one thing I will say is on the return, it's just, even though it's on washers, it's just so satisfying. I wish I could explain this one, but it's just, it's a really great feel on the return. You kind of feel it's not chalky, but I don't know. It's tough to explain, but very, very satisfying. This is comfortable in your hand in any position. Whether you're holding it like this, pull cuts, like that. This thing, you can just, it's truly comfortable everywhere. The jimping on the backside is great here as well. It's just enough to give you a little bit of a surface grab if you're wearing gloves or something like that. I also found the pocketability really good with this one. It has a lot of curvature here on the lock bar cutout. relief there, and so there's nothing sharp to get caught up there. It's got just enough ramp, or actually maybe even a little bit too much, but it slides in the pocket nice, retains well, and found that was really good. And also the last thing that I'd say I really kind of liked was that they did do some, you may or may not be able to see it, but there's some inside milling on the show side in there on the titanium to try to reduce the weight a little bit. Again, it's 5.1 ounces. So it's not, this is not exactly a super light knife, but they did attempt some milling on that one particular one. And I did find that just based on the height of it, this thing does actually, it seems to carry smaller than it really is. Certainly not lighter, because it's kind of a heavy little beast, but it definitely carries smaller than I had expected it. On the con side, speaking of the maintenance ability, it did come with a lot of oil inside the pivot screw here, and as a result, about every 20 flicks, it just kept going off center, and it just kept loosening up. So I actually had to take that out, put just a dab of blue Loctite, and I found out when I went to fully finish getting it tuned for the right centering and action as well as no play, is that I found out that the backside bolt here is free spinning. So you've got to be a little bit careful and careful with that. If not a huge deal, just be aware of it, and definitely don't do anything like silly Loctite over too much of it. I found that the asymmetrical stud size, let's see if we can get that in there. The on the show side here, which is the primary right side of deployment, it is a little bit longer than on the clip side over here. You can still deploy it, and I know why they do this. It's so that when it goes in your pocket, it has less to get caught on there as it's going in, and Cold Steel does that with some of theirs too. I found that it wasn't necessary, because if you kind of look at this thing flat up and down, you're going to see that if they had just made it the same length on each side, it's a little bit shorter on this side than on the show side. So I think that's, it could have been the same length, and then it would have been a little bit more favorable for left-handers. There's also no left side pocket clip. It is tipped down, and there's no left side capability there. So that's a little bit of a con on this one. And I think it actually, going back to the milling, that they did attempt some, I think they could have actually done a little bit more milling to maybe lighten this out a little bit more without affecting the integrity of it. I know it's almost an unfair comparison, but I think about like the Conagarius that has a lot of pocketing in there. They call them lightning pockets, but it definitely lightens the knife, and they're very similar in terms of titanium frame locks in there. So, for me, I think there could have been maybe a little bit more. And then the last thing is, it's not a super great slicer. It's 0.15 blade stock. So it works well. It cut boxes well. I cut through an apple and some fruit and other stuff. And so, again, I'm going back to, this one is really well balanced. And really, let's go ahead and just take this to the overall description of it. But I found that this particular knife does everything that it seeks to do, and that is, it's really kind of a hard use. So you can beat this thing up. It has really, very beefy hardware. The backstop pin is really great, and so you can beat this knife up a fair bit. And it was also built with the user in mind to do that, because there's stonewashing everywhere. I have no worries about dropping this on the floor, scratching it around. I'm not going to intentionally do it, but it's just not one that you're going to worry about so much, because they did such a good job of that one. Really good. I think the steel choice was great. It's very balanced for use. Again, you have the combination of strength, sharpenability, and edge retention. I really love that. So the CTS HP, I think, was a great choice. They did hide that, right there in the on the blade there. And the last thing is again, it is very serviceable, very simple, just screws that go into the other side of the titanium, and again, not overly hard. So I think as a user knife, in the upper echelon, it's absolute excellence, and I love this one. Definitely one of those things that super recommendable in terms of just a true user knife versus some other ones that might be in this price range that you're like, oh, maybe I'm not going to use that. No, I've been using the heck out of this, and actually it feels like it's built to be that way. So hope you did enjoy this quick review, and if you did, go ahead and like and subscribe, and have a great day for yourselves. Take care now.